Okay, in this video I want to explain my Lund Rebel XS electronics and how I did the boat wiring. And I might, experiment to see if I can run, well, this back part I don't care about, but it's the front part. I'll see if I can run it through the conduit. But for right now this works. So I just have one Humminbird up front now with the Humminbird heading sensor. And I simply just ran the cable underneath the gunnel. So you can see that they don't attach this carpeting here, so you can stick your finger through there. You can easily fit 6-gauge wire through there if you want to run 6-gauge wire. The Ethernet cable, though, is best if you stick the end up here. That's where it's going to go through, and that's the front part. Okay, so now we get to the console. This is a side console boat. This is a Lund Rebel XS. This is where you're going to stick the end of the Ethernet cable under here, okay? And other wires you can easily stick anywhere. And then you just go to the other side and grab it and pull it up. And then you just take some silicone, okay, silicone, and stick some, the last time I did this I stuck some pieces of wood, just short pieces of wood in here, but you can stick the battery case, not the fully enclosed one, but just the battery case that sits on top of, so not one of these, but the actual, well, let me show you. I actually have them in my boat. If you have a spare one sitting around, like the battery tray that this sits on, okay, it's not fully enclosed, you can use one of those. You can use a foot pedal. You could maybe use a plain old tackle box. Just something that's going to hold the wires up while the silicone dries. Okay, so anyway, so that's the front. That's how you get it to here. Now, the rest of this is pretty simple. What I did is I screwed the Ethernet switch now down to the floor. It's far enough back where I don't have to really worry about kicking it. However, the fuse block, I did screw it to the back. It's a Blue Sea Systems 12-port panel. And let me just show this to you. I just have to take this driver's seat out so I can get under there. Oops. Let me set the phone down. There we go. Seat's out. So that fish finder runs to here, and it's got a nice little lever here. You just push down and pop right out. And you just use standard automotive fuses. These purple color here are 3 amp fuses. This is what I used for all my electronics. These 5 and 15 amps are not used, not connected to anything right now. And so one of these connections is the connection for that front Humminbird, and also for my dash, and also for my Minn Kota. So I have my Minn Kota heading sensor now. I used to have it up front, now I have it right there. So the only thing I had to run was basically the Humminbird. I have another heading sensor there for this guy. Okay, now let's go to the back of the boat. So I have 6-gauge wire. A lot of people have 8-gauge. I use actually 6-gauge. And this wire here is the factory that comes from the switch panel there. What I actually did is I bought some extra terminals on a battery post. I'm going to be switching these out to actual nuts, but right now they're wing nuts. I got a Blue Sea Systems fuse block. This is a 60, I don't know if it tells, oh, this is actually a 60 amp fuse, so it's fused right at the battery. This is Lund's, for Lund's electronics. You can see there's 2 10-gauge and then a thicker gauge wire here is probably 8-gauge. This actually gotta tighten that nut down. That actually is 10 gauge wire, and then I'm guessing that's probably 8 gauge wire there. Okay, so I got that, and then I get just, you know, here I just ran electronics to the negative battery post. No fuse there, obviously, because it's negative. Okay, so then that positive lead. So what you do, and you can actually, if you want better access to fish the wires out under there, you can actually take this seat off, and then you can reach under there as well. But you run the cable up here. Another option is you can try to run it underneath the boat where you see the wiring conduit. See that hole down there? And I think this is much easier, and honestly I think it's probably better because it doesn't get wet as often. So you simply run it underneath the boot up there, and just take a glow rod or something and shove it through that channel. And then you simply take this cup holder off, and you can grab the cable through there. You go underneath the dash, there's a hole under there, you pull the cable. And then what I did now is the cable, the positive cable runs to the battery switch, which I turn on and off. This turns on and off this entire fuse block, this entire Blue Sea Systems fuse block right here, okay? It's one switch for the whole thing. I drilled that hole out with a Dremel. So a Dremel and a stainless steel metal cutting bit. And then from there I have another 6 gauge run from there to the fuse block. And this top and bottom, okay, so this is actually connects to the battery switch. And then from the battery switch it goes all the way back to the battery. The negative just goes straight to the battery. So it's from here straight to the battery. So it's one switch to turn all of this off. And yeah, and there it is. So that's how I have my battery cables ran, or my electronics run.